Hey guys, Andy here, and this is my 1 week review of Highguard. I want to start by saying this isn't a reaction video. If you want to see my initial reaction to the game, I have a video uploaded on my channel. I intentionally wait about a week before I review games because I want actual time in the game. I want wins, I want losses, frustration, learning curves. I want the full experience. I think anyone can play the game for 20 minutes and have a take, and I don't think that's fair to the game or the players watching. So I've put a solid amount of time to Highguard now, and I want to talk about what I think it does really well, where it struggles, and whether I think it's worth your time. So, a quick overview if you're new. Highguard is a competitive raid shooter with a mix of gunplay, movement, mounts, and a buy system. You're basically attacking or defending a base, managing the Vesper you mine, and relying heavily on team play. It's not trying to be Call of Duty, it's not trying to be Valorant. It's kind of doing its own thing, and that's important for this review because I think it was an important part of the game's identity, trying to be something new. I'm going to start my list off with the pros. And I think the first thing we need to talk about is the gunplay because it's what you're going to be doing the most in this game. If you're ever a fan of Apex gunplay, I think you're really going to like this because I have very much enjoyed the gunplay here. I think the guns feel weighty, accurate, and skill based. When you lose a fight, most of the time you know why you lost it. Missed shot matters, critical shots matter, positioning matters, tracking matters. There's a lot of skill here. And if you are going up against somebody who has higher skill than you, most of the time you're probably going to end up losing that gunfight. When you get a kill, it feels earned, it doesn't feel random, and it most certainly does not feel like you're cheesing the game. Gunplay is solid, and at the end of the day, this is a game that you're going to win and lose based off gunplay. The hero's abilities are awesome, they're fun, but gunplay definitely has a bigger impact than the way you use your heroes. Next up is movement. I think movement here is really solid. It's pretty strong for this game. I think it's smooth, responsive, and it gives you enough freedom without turning into a bunny hopping nightmare. If you like Apex movement, I don't think it's as crazy as that. But I've actually seen some people who can do some really cool things with the movement. Overall, I think it's pretty strong. I think good players can outposition the bad ones, but you're not just instantly deleted because somebody has cracked movement tech. It rewards mastery without being overwhelming. Personally, I'm not somebody who's a big fan of something like the way Call of Duty's become, where people are sliding and flying all over the map, and you have to have the biggest skill just to track somebody down because they're moving so fast. And I don't think this game is the movement's crazy like that, which I really appreciate and like. Next up is the mount system, and I think it's one of the most unique parts of the game. I think at first, mounting and fighting on the mount, it felt a little awkward, but I think just after a few games, it clicks and it had a whole new level to the strategy, rotations, escapes, when to push, how to push. And it all just changes when mounts are involved. I think mounts were fantastic for this game, especially with the way the map's set up and running around to get stuff. Without the mounts, I feel like this game would definitely be lacking something. And I think overall it just makes the game feel different instead of just another shooter with a gimmick. Next up is probably something you're gonna see in the cons mentioned as well, kind of. But I enjoy the buying phase. I think going out and looting is nice, and I really do like the idea of going and mining Vesper to then use to buy stuff. And what I'd like to do sometimes is try a strategy of just bull rushing to the other side of the map, seeing if you can deny the other team their Vesper and being able to loot their chest and kind of see how that would change the game and see if that's a valid strategy. But I think it's definitely adding something here, and I think there's definitely some sort of satisfying thing that happens just being able to perfectly mine the Vesper and the other ones just become one hit. I've really enjoyed it, especially if you're mining with somebody like Atticus, whose lightning can chain and destroy other Vesper when his ability is fully charged. I think conceptually, Highguard is pretty strong. I know I've seen people talk about how they think it's a mismatch of a bunch of different aspects of games, which it kind of is, but I like the way that they've brought everything together. The mix of base attack and defense, economy management, mounts, and mechanical skill makes it feel like something that could have longevity if they support this game properly. And It's ambitious, and I love that, and I'm excited to see what more they do to make some of this more interesting conceptually. And this is my last big pro, but I think it's the most important, and that is that I think Highguard is just simply fun. I've enjoyed my time with it a lot. I catch myself saying, just one more game to my friends when we're on. And to me, that is the most important thing. If a game isn't fun, nothing else matters. And I think Highguard's just fun to play. Two quick things for pros I'd like to touch on before we move on to cons, and that is just two small things. I think the battle pass being free is huge. You see some games do that, and not a lot of them, but in today's landscape, I think having the free battle pass is huge. No paywall for that, even though there is stuff in the store you can buy, and it's strictly cosmetic. And second, here's the skill gap. I think there is a good amount of skill gap here. A lot of people I've seen, and especially my friends, talk about the time to kill. If somebody's getting you with headshots, you are going to die very quickly. Even if you're just unloading your gun into somebody's chest, you could use a full clip if they have enough shield, and it probably won't kill them. So I think hitting those critical shots, those headshots, having that skill gap is very important for this game, and I think they've done it really well. Now for the downsides of this game. I think, and we'll see it again here, the buy phase, gather phase, whatever it is, I think sometimes it's lacking. And I think especially towards the tail end of long games, when everyone already has, legendary golden stuff, it's like, what are we doing this for? I also wish there was kind of more around. The map feels kind of empty. It'd be interesting if there were other things around the map to be able to do during that phase. But sometimes I really felt like this area was lacking and a little boring near the end of matches. And while the gunplay feels good, I think there is a little bit of weapon balancing to happen here. Some weapons clearly outperform others, and once the meta settles, I think we'll start seeing the same loadouts over and over, which, to be clear, this isn't unusual for a new game, but I think it does need attention if Highguard wants a healthy competitive scene and wants to remain relevant. Something I almost put into my neutral section, but I decided to put in the cons, is I think base defense feels a little light. All you can really do is reinforce right now, and I wish there was a warden that had base defense abilities, maybe traps, maybe something else, but the first 30 or 45 seconds, minute of the game, where all you're doing is reinforcing, I kind of wish there were other things to do there. But I do appreciate the fact that they let you choose your base. So I wish they would add more when it comes to actually building up your base defenses. And the last con I had written down, now that I'm looking at this, is kind of funny because I put game size. I wish they had a 4v4 or 5v5. But since I waited a week to do this, they've actually added the 5v5 already. And I think the 5v5 was awesome. I've had a lot of fun playing it. And now I really wish they would add a 4v4 because while I enjoy both the 3v3 and the 5v5, I really do think a 4v4 would be like that sweet spot of players. Before we get to the final verdict, I want to talk about some of the things I felt neutral on. This will probably be the shortest section because I only have two things written down here, and the first being the heroes or the wardens. I didn't feel like there were any that really stuck out. I do feel like they're maybe a little bland, but I'm not taking that as a con because I think most of them are fun to play. They just didn't really move the ticker for me being a positive or negative for this game. They're just pretty much the standard heroes that you'll see in any game that has heroes and abilities. My last neutral is the map, and I know people that think it's too big and too empty. Do I think they're too big? Not really, especially with the mount and when you get, the level 3 saddle and you can fly around that thing. I think the map is fine sized, but I do wish that there were more to do. So for that reason, I don't think it's a con, but definitely not a pro, and I'm just neutral on it, excited to see if they update it or how they could change it. So overall, my Highguard verdict is this. It's not perfect, it has balance issues a little bit, and it has some systems that need refining. But I think it has a really strong foundation, a clear identity, and most importantly, it's fun. I think if the developers support it and listen to feedback, this game absolutely has potential. It's free to play, so I think everyone should definitely give it a shot. I know it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but you're losing nothing to just try it. So there you have it. That's my 1 week review of Highguard, but I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments. If you're interested in more Highguard content, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.